I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. But if you're looking for ransom, I can tell you I don't have money. But what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I have acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you,
Did you
plumbers.
learn them? Did you learn them in 5 weeks at Trade Skills for You?
Now, if you let my daughter go, that'll be the end of it because she's on one of those 5-week courses. I will not look for you. I will not pursue you. But if you don't, I will look for you. I will find you. And I will bond you. Anyway, right, that's enough of that. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another E5 podcast. I am one of your many, many eclectic and diverse hosts. My name is Paul Meenan, and welcome to the E5 podcast. And my co-host for this one is
Dan Jackson, aka Dan's the Engineer.
Dan's the engineer, the fireman, the electrician, the fellow at the IET, the ECA power player. Let's not forget that. Congratulations on that recent award, Dan, by the way. I was there watching my brother from another mother collect that award, and justly deserved. So today's podcast is going to be, we'll probably should start off with an apology. So we did a podcast on bullying. It genuinely did upset some people. For that, I can only humbly apologise. There was nothing, to my awares, that was set up or purposely, maliciously trying to offend anybody at all, and it upset some people. However, on the other flip of the coin, we've had quite a few emails from people who genuinely wrote these emails crying, and it was moving for me just reading them. And well, you've seen them as well, Dan. So
yeah.
So I'm not going to apologize for the depression one. In fact, we've actually kind of agreed, and this may be a 1 or 2 or a 3-parter, that we're going to talk about some other taboo stuff. Today's one's going to be depression. I know David Watt, Sparky Ninja, is probably going to jump into this. We may do another one with Ryan, and we're also probably going to do one on alcoholism as well, because we think they're really important subjects to talk about, and we are very direct and very open, because we shouldn't be afraid to talk about our feelings. So on that note, dear Lord, I'm dreading this one.
The big D.
The D word, yeah, depression. I have to say, I've been thinking about this for the last few days, and I genuinely have been dreading talking about this. But yeah, so I'll be the first one. I'll say, hi, I'm Paul, and I suffer from depression all the time. How it manifests itself, I don't know. It's a difficult one to say how it manifests, really. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a bit portly. There's quite a lot of me to love. Probably, and again, none of this is an excuse. I just want to be very clear. I've suffered from depression on and off now since, I think, leaving school. To be honest with you. Yeah, since leaving school, because when I left school, I remember walking home crying, and I didn't know what I wanted to do in life or what to achieve. And there I was, basically kicked out of the gates, told, go and be a man. And that was scary. And that was a very tearful, and that was the first time where I couldn't control my feelings or emotions. The rest of the kickings I had in life, you live and learn from them. But one of the goals I've had in life that only you E5 guys really know about is, I've always wanted to be a better dad than my dad was to me, because my dad was a git.
Yeah.
And me and my missus, for those who don't know, we can't have kids. We don't have the ability to have kids. It's not me. It's she has polycystic ovaries, womb issues. I'm not going into them on this podcast, but unfortunately, whilst we've had lots and lots of fun trying for children, and I've been with her for 25 years this year, we can't have them. So the one goal in life that I've always wanted, I can't have. Weirdly enough, it's heartbreaking, because you see people who don't deserve it have kids, and people who have kids who treat them like shit, and you just think, my God, you don't know what a blessing you've got. So yeah, that's kind of always left a massive hole for me. It's been really hard for my missus. My missus has suffered beyond belief. I'm not going to talk about her suffering in there because part of her suffering is mine. Because when you're with someone who you worship and love and adore, I had to then show strength to her, and I've kind of had to like not well show my feelings, but not show my feelings, because it took her 10 years to probably talk about the subject openly. You know, we're in our early 40s now. I've never ever given up at the hope of a miracle. I never will. It doesn't make me some religious, person of certain things. It's just I always believe in miracles. But it's been hard trying to be strong for her.
Yeah.
My only real goal now in life is to give her a fantastic life. That sounds really, I don't know, some people probably listen to this thinking it's shallow or stupid or dumb, but I don't really have anything else in life to aim for. And I've always believed you've got to have a goal in life. The number one goal was to be a better dad to my kids. Can't have that. So the only other goal I've got is to try and give her a happy life. Now, my missus, we've just been on holiday for a week. She spent most of it laughing her head off because I'm quite good at making my missus laugh and acting a fool and all the rest of it. I've no problem in doing it whatsoever. Um, Being stupid and dumb, throwing myself under the bus has never been an issue. Even when I was in school, I was the school playground lunatic, changing my voice, doing silly things. Spent most of my life being depressed because people told me to grow up, be serious, usual stuff. But they're little things that just mold you. But yeah, I used to wallow eating. Oh my God, when I was do you know what? I remember times when I would have two curries in a day. Awful, stupid eating habits, just chucking junk in me, never fulfilling me, always ignoring the issue. I think in life you just go through experiences, good and bad, and they just kind of toughen you up and make you realize life's too short, and you just gotta just speak from the heart, speak from the mind. But there's a link, without making everyone switch off. There's a link to E5 in this. Um, nearly 6 years ago now, when I came up for the idea for E5. I remember sitting there with a bunch of guys in the DLR talking about this, and one of my colleagues said, "Wouldn't it be great if that could change the electrical industry?" And my first response was, "Don't be stupid. I don't know enough about the electrical industry outside of rail." And I soon started to learn, and that was obviously when I met Mr. Dempsey, who's not on this, but he probably will be on another one. And the minute Ryan said to me, "This needs to be everywhere in the electrical industry," that was it. That was the seed sown. Now, fast forward 5 and a bit years later, E5 has given me the best coping mechanism for depression that I ever could have wished for. I regularly speak to people at the IET or in industry bodies, and I do a lot of volunteering. You know that. I went to Devon last week, and I spent 4 evenings doing voluntary work, at colleges and university lectures, and people go, "Oh, that's really hard." It's like recharging the batteries. It's like
Yeah.
lying on a beach absorbing the sun. I know it sounds mad, but it genuinely does. It gives you a fulfillment, that yeah, not many other things can do. Helping people is a great thing, and it's a great coping mechanism for depression. So E5 is my coping mechanism for depression.
And I also think what a lot of people who aren't really involved in E5 don't understand is that amongst us all, not just us five as such, but others as well, we network and talk to each other. And it's not all just about work stuff. It's we talk to each other on a personal level, and
Yeah, we
it's
do.
support, isn't it? Support.
Yeah, it is. It is without a doubt. I think when we first started E5, we were quite, I don't know, we were lackluster. We probably hang around with people who weren't of the same views. We trusted people that we probably regretted trusting, if I'm being brutally honest. I think there were people who just wanted to make money out of it. I think one of the biggest things I've had with E5 is there's so many people were like, "Oh, we can make money out of this, we can do this." All they did was they took their normal behaviors and mindsets from industry and wanted to put it into E5. And this is why I've spent so long saying, look, we're not sponsored. We don't get paid. This is completely non-for-profit.
Yeah, for
If you don't understand us, you'll never will. And how much, Dan, have we spent time talking to people, just trying to explain it, but also whilst trying to explain it, we ourselves as a group are trying to develop what we want to do with it.
Yeah.
Because I always say it's not my baby. It's all the key guys, you included. We all sat down around a pub and said, influence, inspire, inform, support, and educate. We've all said, look, this is what we can do with what we have, and some of us can do more, some of us can do less, some of us can't do much because some of us have got family challenges at the moment, if it's fair to say.
Yeah.
Some of us have business challenges, which is why there will be times when I'm doing loads of stuff, or Ryan will be doing stuff, or you'll be flying the flag, or Paul Skirm will be doing stuff in Wales, Dave Watts will be doing stuff. It just depends on who's available at the time. Now, E5 is, yes, there's the core five of us because we're all good pals. We've all been through if fair to say, a joint trauma, a joint group bullying almost from people in the industry.
Yeah.
But it's E5's loads more people. Richard Emery, who's done fantastic
Yes.
podcasts, Louise. Lee
Yeah.
Ward has always been part of us. Adrian Davey. And I think if Lee Ward was here now, he would be very open and say he has suffered with depression because he has challenges with his home life that, of course, naturally will do. Maybe we'll get him onto one of these where he may or may not want to talk about it. And it's fine if you don't want to talk about it. That's absolutely fine. But I have absolutely no problem in telling people stuff because I have a really simple view, and that is, this is really weird actually. I kind of developed it from my dad again. My dad was a git to women, and I always swore if I got hold of a woman or got together with a woman that she would understand the reasoning and the reckoning as to why I say what I say and the decisions I make. And if she loved me for it, she was the right woman for me. Fast forward 25 years, my missus knows the ins and outs of every thought process I have. She
Yeah.
may not agree with it, but she understands it, which makes for a really solid foundation, a good partnership. She she actually does her own voluntary stuff. I don't just abandon her. Loads of people think, oh, you must abandon her. I do have a fucking break. I do sit down and watch Gold Rush on binge box set and various stuff on Netflix and Amazon. But helping people is quite easy when you've got to the other side of the challenges that people have.
I think a lot of people might be quite shocked to hear what you've just said, Paul, about yourself, because I think a lot of people see you doing your voluntary stuff. You've won an award with the IET.
I got a medal. Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, you've got medal. You've got some great career achievements, and I think a lot of people will never understand the flip side, the dark side. Yin and yang. They see the light, but they don't see the dark.
It's a brilliant analogy. Yeah, and you're right. There is a yin and yang. And it's that medal. So I got nominated for that medal, and when I got nominated for that medal, I thought, is this a wind up? First thing I wrote back to the IT was, this has got to be a wind up. And they said, no, 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 it's true. And I wasn't going to go to the ceremony because I genuinely believed that there was not a chance in hell I would ever win it for Month of Sundays, because the other two nominees were a wonderful woman who'd spent many years doing stuff and a really good old boy from Australia who'd served his damn time. So I sat there and I thought, I ain't got a chance. My boss then turned and went, oh, good, excellent. Come on, it's a jolly down in London. Let's all go down. So I got dragged down. I didn't even make an effort. I was wearing black jeans and a jacket and a really messed up shirt. And it went, I was sat next to the two other nominees. I just went, yep, good luck, well done. And I closed my eyes and I sat back in my chair during it because I didn't want to see it and I didn't want to hear it. When they announced my name, I was stunned for like 2 days. It was only 2 days later that I actually watched this little video I edited on my phone, which I did on cruise control, that I actually started to get emotional about. And I thought, blimey. And then you look back at the fact that I have driven to Swansea College in the morning, done an 8-hour day and then driven back. I've gone to Warrington dozens of times, Exeter, Devon, Cornwall. I've pretty much toured most of this country now doing stuff for free with no money involved, and I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Paul, that medal was well deserved, by the way. You were one of the most humble people I know.
Thank you.
It's well deserved.
I think it's always worthwhile being humble. We had a guy the other day in Devon ask to get a selfie of me, and I just turned around and I said, can I get a selfie with you? And he went, what? I said, you're far more important than I am. You're doing the work. You're still on the tools doing the work. I hate people with, I'll be honest with you, and I hate's a horribly strong word. I think people with huge egos are time thieves.
Time thieves, absolutely.
I think they are time thieves. If you are not humble enough to realize that if you're in a position where you sit on a wiring regs panel or you work for an industry body, it is incredibly humbling to be able to offer your peers any form of advice. And for us five guys, we've been through a lot of journeys. I mean, you buggered off for a year, although it wasn't like you were gone for a year because we still spoke to you while you were gone. But for the industry, Dan Jackson went AWOL for a year, but you didn't to us. We were
Yeah.
still part of your travels and your adventure, and it
And,
was
and
hard.
on that note, I mean, one of the reasons I buggered off was because of one of the big reasons was my now ex-wife's depression.
So just on that, for those listening who are not aware, Dan Jackson left the electrical industry. When did you go?
It was July 2018.
Okay, July 2018. Dan left with his wife and his wonderful two children, and they left to tour the world, which they did very successfully. And eventually they came back, and you left, as you said, for your current wife's mental health.
Partially, yeah.
Partially. Okay, so tell us about that then, because that's quite an interesting one.
She's always suffered with mental health issues, depression, and it goes up and down. I have honestly, I'm very fortunate that I've never suffered from depression, and so it is hard to empathise sometimes, but I have witnessed it. Obviously, being a partner with somebody who's been really, really bad, and it obviously has affected me. It's affected our family. Obviously, I'm not blaming her or anything like that. It is what it is because obviously it's treated with love. But she was never really happy with all aspects, and kind of it's kind of hard to say this, Paul, but even motherhood, parenthood, it is really tough. She suffered from depression for that as well, and I suppose in your position where you can't have kids, that's quite hard to hear because we are fortunate. We are fortunate to be able to have children or have had children. But I remember when I was working as a contractor and I was working silly hours and stuff like that. Yeah. I just remember coming home and having to take a deep breath before I walked through the front door. Just take this huge breath, open up the door, and put on a happy face, put on that Joker outfit, and the kids would more or less be handed to me, and she just it was like a relief for her. And then I had to do my second job of the day of being a parent, and it didn't stop until I got the kids to bed, which was probably by 9 o'clock, and it was already a very unhappy household by the time I got home from work, and it was hard for me. Fortunately, I've always been quite a strong person, and just kind of like got on with it. But obviously, I recognise I've had my coping mechanisms too. Even though I've not had depression, I still have my coping mechanisms. And to be fair, Paul, a lot of that I guess was E5 as well. So, going travelling was absolutely amazing, and the whole time we were travelling, she was not depressed. But obviously, we've come back to the UK for reasons that are.
You don't have to say them on a podcast, dude. Don't worry about that.
No, it's fine because I've posted stuff on my Instagram and stuff like that, and I'm pretty open. But our relationship kind of broke down, but not. It was just more it wasn't horrible. It was just we recognised that we shouldn't be together. Like we're good as friends, and that's as far as it goes. And we decided to come back, and a lot of it was because I wanted some stability for the kids. Because we needed our time, she needed her space, and it was kind of like the next chapter. And coming back, I'm talking for her really, but she did slip back into depression again, coming back to the UK. And obviously, we ended up breaking up. And I'm not saying we broke up because of a depression. There's so many aspects to it. But even though I'm not with her, we still co-parent children. I still do have to deal with that. I still have to deal with her side of it because I have to step up my game. But then I've always found myself neglecting myself because I'm trying to help other people, you know?
Yeah, I mean, so if I could go back to the start of that, you said one thing that I was going to do a Dempsey and jump straight in on you, where you said you don't really suffer from depression. I would disagree with that, because me and you have had many debates over the years, and even I am able to recognize when someone is up against it, even if it's short term.
I've had,
We all need that, because depression can be
yeah.
short term as well. The trouble is with depression, it's about learning the symptoms, and that's one of the biggest problems. It's recognizing it, because depression is actually recognized by the World Health Organization as an illness caused by changes in our brain chemistry. Me and you have always spoke about food you eat and various other bits, the food you put in you. You know, you've said many a time, as a vegan, you find the food you put in you as a vegan are so much more cleansing, and you're far more upbeat. You know, I find myself, I'll have a doner kebab and chips, feel like shit straight after, shit during it, and then 2 days later still feeling like crap. Depressed is the hardest thing in the world. My oldest brother is 47. He suffered from depression since he was 12. I think 12, because my mother walked out when he was about 12, and he became basically the dad, the one who didn't beat us. And he has, bless him, he's 47 now, but he took such a beating from my dad. He's got the brain of an 18-year-old and the hormones of a 12-year-old. You know, he can't snap out of it. I've got a brother who's an alcoholic, another one. I've got loads, and he can't snap out of it. And if you say to him you're an alcoholic, he goes absolutely mad with rage and gets so angry he starts slurring his words, even though he hasn't had a touch of alcohol. But he can't recognise his own symptoms, so he never gets the help or support he needs.
I've definitely had down times for sure, like, but it's never been long lived.
No,
So,
no.
um,
Would you put that down actually to the fact that you do lead a really healthy lifestyle, because your yoga and all that? Because every time I've done yoga, I felt fantastic.
Paul, I have to really fucking work hard for myself. Like
Yeah,
really, it's some stuff just comes easy. Other stuff I have, regimes. I have a very habitual nature, very habitual nature. I'm a very once I have a taste for something that perhaps isn't good for me, like my escapism, I just overindulge in that, whether it's bad food or whatever else, or some form of bad behavior. And sometimes I crave it, but I think self-awareness is really important to recognize that behavior
and
and go, well, hang on a second.
this is
I have like a morning ritual I do, an evening ritual I do, but yeah, like when I do things like yoga, meditation for me has helped me beyond belief. And all you do is sit there and just be. You just breathe. You don't really do anything other than that. But people really struggle doing that. It's a practice. You have to constantly do it.
I think most of the people listening to this, a lot of the electricians, whether they're in their van or whatever, recognizing depression, for me, is the first step in accepting you need the help. Because depression can range. It can range from feeling really low most of the time, which is termed mild depression, and I think I fit in that mild depression. Some people feel that life is no longer worth living, which they can term as clinical depression. Um, often symptoms are not physical. Sometimes they are. Sometimes they're not mental. Sometimes it's other people who notice something's wrong. Depression definitely can lower your mood. It can make you feel hopeless. It can make you feel worthless and exhausted. It can affect your sleep, your appetite, your physical health, and it can stop you from getting on with your daily activities. And the thing is, as well, some of the, just for those listening, really, just to help them, some of the things that you might be thinking, because I'm lucky in respects of my missus, bless her. She trained as a art TI, which is an art technical instructor. She then went on to counselling. She then went on to psychology, and then she did a degree in occupational therapy. So my missus is a walking encyclopedia of psychology and behaviours, and yet she suffers so badly from depression because of what happened with her.
Yeah.
And also she has to deal with some awful, horrendous, psychologically damaging mental health cases, where I'm not going to repeat on this, but sometimes having difficulty concentrating, remembering things and making decisions can be a sign, being preoccupied with negative thoughts, having a pessimistic view on the future. Holy shit. It's that one there straight away, okay? Having a pessimistic view of the future is so many electricians. It's mind-blowing.
So
Many.
I think it's very fair to say that depression is absolutely rife in the electrical industry. Absolutely rife.
It's a cancer that
Totally.
Would you also agree with me then that our industry, because do you know what really annoys me is where we have these, and oh God, I'll probably end up, yeah, I'm just going to say it anyway. So I find it patronizing as fuck that companies do these stand up for depression days and let's talk days. And they win all these corporate awards for saying it's okay to not be okay and all this stuff, which the intent is always good. But it's the fucking companies that are employing these people that are causing them to be depressed in the first place. So then one day a year or 1 week a year, they'll say it's National Depression Week. Why don't you go and talk to your boss about your feelings? Okay, boss, you're shit. The company is shit because you're making us do stuff that is wrong or we don't want to do. How fucking double standard is that of a lot of employers? I've experienced it myself where I've actually spoken to previous bosses and said I find all of this mental health in the workplace stuff incredibly fucking patronizing because I see the intent of it. But when people in the workplace are depressed, if it's a workplace depression, then the company needs to fucking change the way they are, not just get their staff to speak to their boss, who they may fucking hate and blame for half of their depression. And lacking self-confidence, self-esteem, or feeling guilty about things. It's sorry, I've just gone off on a rant now. I do apologise to everyone listening, but
I filmed a vodcast with the ECA recently.
A vodcast?
Yeah, vodcast.
Cool.
It's not out yet. It's coming out soon. But one of the I can't remember how we got onto the topic, but I was asked why I think there is issues within the electrical industry, and I honestly believe, Paul, we're subconsciously told as electricians we're fucking thick, because basically it's the age of, oh, you didn't hit the grades to go to university, so you're thick as shit, you've got to become a tradesman. And I think that's instilled into us from the start. We all know there's electrician, what the hell does that word even mean anymore? And we're in the same pool of a load of people who aren't qualified, aren't competent, but can still earn, pretty decent money, and it's watered down the market value of what we call an electrician. And you start to you see all this horrible crap electrics on, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and you start to go, I'm an electrician, and that's a part of me and what I do. And you're like, well, hang on a second, these electricians are getting work, but yet my standard is so much better than all this crap stuff that's out there. And it starts to make you question yourself, like, oh, us electricians are just, whatever. But I think subconsciously there's a lot going on there, and a lot of the guys get completely depressed and down because we're in the same pool, the same league as these charlatans.
Yeah, I don't disagree at all. It's a difficult one. I think a lot of electricians are deemed thick or stupid. I think a lot of I think the industry has been de-skilled quite a lot.
Yeah.
For me, the trade of an electrician is basically on a par with a scientist, as far as I'm concerned. We're electrical engineers, electricians. Call us what you want. You're on par with a scientist because you've got to understand this stuff that you can't even see. Okay, at least with gas, they can see some sort of leaks or high pressure movement, distortions. They can smell it. Electricity, you can't. It's these trapped electrons desperately trying to jump out of this PVC prison that they're sat in, because that's exactly what they are. And you're the ringmaster of the PVC prison, basically, controlling these electrons, getting to the equipment. It's fucking really dangerous. There's nothing dumb about that, but I think some of the training routes into the industry have allowed for people to gain a qualification who aren't mentally competent yet, to gain access to a trade, and they themselves will suffer from anxiety and depression because they may not feel confident enough and not have anyone to support them in gaining confidence.
But another thing, like just silly little things like the 2391. The older 2391 was renowned as hard to achieve. The newer
Yes.
one, we all know it's far easier, yet it's called the 2391. So again, as time's gone on as electricians, we know our skill and our trade has been completely and utterly devalued by how the way training's done. Training is one of the biggest problems, massive, massive problems. For example, Paul, psychologically, if, for example, 2 years ago, the pass mark used to be 90% to pass at your exams and get through, right? You'd take some pride in if you got that. You'd be like, yes, I've managed that. I've got 95%. Absolutely brilliant. I'm pleased with myself. But now the pass mark is 70%. So you know that 2 years ago, only 10 of you out of 30 would pass, but now 25 of you will. How does that make you feel? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, the trouble is they won't know. Well, a lot of people that do that won't know any better until they're out there and they're being almost verbally assaulted by someone who's saying you haven't earned it because it's a lot easier now. You can't blame the individuals who are trying to make a living for their family, the people. I've always said this, and maybe I'm the most controversial person in the industry for saying it, is yes, I believe in full apprenticeships, 4 to 5 years minimum before you even deem yourself skilled and competent. But the fact of the matter is all these people who have done the short courses have to have a place somewhere or get thrown out, which would cause such mental health issues. It's mind blowing.
Yeah, and also,
and it's wrong.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't be there, and because a lot of them, I've spoken to a lot of.
Wrong. If they're dangerous and they're ignorant, then throw them out.
But the thing is, it's just education and know it, because some of them, there's some blokes I've spoken to who have done the short courses and they're like, I want to do this, I want to do that, because they come to me for business advice. And I kind of say, look, you really need to do your homework a little bit more and get to a point, because part of my whole business model, Paul, as you know, is competence. And some of them actually, they suddenly tweak. Hang on, I've just paid £5,000 for this course, and I'm nowhere near where I need to be. And it's like, oh shit, I've just spent £5,000 on what? But the industry has got a skill shortage, and these, the short course guys, you can't literally just throw them out like that tomorrow, because the industry would massively, massively suffer. But that's why upskilling and raising standards is all part of that. But it's not a process that's going to happen overnight. Literally, it's got to take years to get out of.
I agree. And one of the treatments for depression, an accepted treatment for depression, is actually self-help programs, where you introduce structure into your life, and that could be a number of programs. You can have interpersonal therapy where your relationships with others can be a significant factor. I think that's what I keep saying. E5 for me was a fantastic therapy and a good treatment for depression. On an ongoing basis, helping other people who are struggling, I think's absolutely so rewarding. It's mind-blowing. It really is. And yet the shit that we have had since we started E5 is fucking mind-blowing. The bullying and the trolls is fucking incredible.
The resistance from many organizations is disgusting, really, because all we're trying to do is do something good. But the thing is,
it shows what a cancer in our industry exists.
Yeah, 100%. But the problem is, Paul, E5 is it is a threat to a lot of these organisations because it shows them up. Like, literally.
Should we also say that, just for the avoidance of doubt, for this podcast, I am 42 in a couple of months' time, and I am probably got 24 years left of my working career before I'm given the option to retire. So I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. Just to be clear, anyone listening to that, I am going nowhere. And regardless if half of us are hit by a bus tomorrow and disappear, I'm still going nowhere. And I'm not doing it for the industry bodies. I'm doing it for the individuals, the sparks, the people who want to help. The whole "it's nice to be nice." That for me is just the best therapy and the best feeling you can ever get. To be honest with you, but
yeah, and I'm a believer also. You have to give to receive. So if you give aggressiveness, you give, bad energy to somebody, that's what you get back. If you're looking for a fight, you get.
I find I get, when I help people, they always go, well, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? Do you want money? Do you want this? And I always say, I don't want anything from you because I've already received far more than I've given you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And everyone's listening to this going, these guys are proper batshit crazy emotional weirdos. Maybe we are, but we're honest.
Yeah, but Paul, do you know what? When you you start talking to guys, and I say guys, girls, whoever, in this industry, when you start talking to them, what we're talking about is very common. People just don't talk about it. That's the thing, and I guess that's what the whole talk about it, is part of. And you know that you've spent hours and hours on the phone to people, Paul, and I know others, within E5 have as well, of guys who are going through a hard time, and we kind of recognise it, and it's a form of therapy, isn't it?
It is, but it's also sometimes it's, and this is why I say this, and I genuinely don't mean to be patronising or arrogant or anything like that, because I know there are people who think I'm arrogant, regardless of whatever the fuck I say, they'll think it. Um, uh, there are genuinely so many people out there who genuinely need help and a shoulder to lean on. Uh, It's very depressing and very lonely working by yourself if you're a one-man sole trader. The positives of social media, you can bind together. I think Twitter is a toxic wasteland of arrogance and dick measuring and just stupidity, because it's where people show their inability to socially engage, because the written word is very easily misconstrued. And for me, I'll be honest with you, if it weren't for the fact it was a popular social media platform, I wouldn't be on it at all. Instagram seems to be far more better. I mean, our Instagram feed. So a lot of people, when they see our Instagram feed, will go absolutely disgraceful. It's full of lash ups and dangerous electric pictures. Those pictures, and I'll say it again, are so that people can practice their coding. It's not to embarrass any electrician or any electrical contractor, or have people say, oh, that's an NIC, because if anyone says that, their comments get deleted. It's got fuck all to do with the industry bodies. It is purely a have a look at the photo. How would you use your engineering judgment to code? That's it. That's all it's about. And also to show you that there are some people may not have that level of education, have done some really stupid things. Don't do it, children.
Yeah.
Because we always learn from the mistakes. Let's be honest about it. We may not admit it. One of the subconscious competencies that I've always found is when someone has made a complete and utter fuck up, which I use my time at EDF Energy as a cracking example, as many, many mistakes. I used to sit back and watch and absorb like a sponge. Do not make that mistake. Do not do that. Do not do that. My whole family, I'm the youngest of the original five. They made loads of mistakes. I'm very privileged. I haven't made those mistakes. I've made plenty of my own, but not them. But I'm the only member of my family who owns his own home. Everybody else live in council houses or squats or not great places in life. Let's put it like that.
I was speaking to Tessa from the Electrical Industries charity recently about depression and stuff like that. And
why is she depressed?
Pardon?
Is she depressed?
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh,
but
right, okay.
no, it's just what they help with. It's just what I was completely unaware. But they actually provide support for people within the electrical industry.
In all fairness, they should do. If the electrical industry's charity, they should provide a whole range of services. I'm not surprised. I didn't realise they did that sort of stuff. But
they
yeah,
do.
okay.
I was actually quite surprised. I mean, I was because I'm fundraising for the EIC by doing a hike, and when I kind of I was challenged by the ECA to do it, and then I kind of like called up Tessa and said, what's the crack? Can you tell me, the ins and outs of what you guys do, blah blah blah. And I was actually really taken back. But what they put it down to, apparently,
get her on a podcast.
I'll ask her.
Get her on a podcast,
because they especially this sort of thing, because they know the ins and outs of it. This is the thing. What she was saying to me was that they kind of pinpointed what can cause depression amongst tradesmen, specifically electricians, and apparently excess travel is one of the biggest factors.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah, well, this is the, oh God. So travel time is a nightmare. I years and years, people who grew up, I'm going to use the Southeast as an example. Sorry, everybody. But I grew up in London. I then moved out of London. My travel time into work became an hour each way minimum. If there was traffic or a crash in the M25, it got stupid and it went to 2.5 hours. You're then spending 3 to 5 hours, worst case scenario, of traveling in and out of work, and it becomes soul destroying. I have come home from work at 10 o'clock to literally eat some food, lie down and start the day again, and that absolutely kills you having to do that.
And I also think I've been looking into it recently. Like when you're on a motorway, or you're just, you know what London traffic's like if you're driving,
Car
and
park. Yep.
yeah, just a car park. It's like you're completely out of control of what you can do, and you start going batshit crazy because you know where you've got to be. You start becoming very impatient, and it just
Um,
raises whatever in your body that brings out aggressiveness or, uncomfortable feelings. And even on the train, I get the train into London. We're literally like when you're outside Liverpool Street Station, right? There's loads
yeah.
of people talking and chatting. As soon as you step into the station, we're fucking robots.
Yeah.
Everybody just shuts up, looks at the screen where they've got to go, and they just zoom towards wherever they've got. Literally, we're just robots going
Yeah. I
from
know.
A to B. And I think that's a lot of the problem. I think it's really difficult because we are more than just robots, and the more we're programmed or told how to be robots, that causes a lot of problems mentally.
So just from my perspective, when I was on the tools, when I used to have a van, which I do miss, I used to do well, what is commonly known now as carpool karaoke, the singing. So I am
Yeah.
the best, I am the single greatest karaoke singer in London. Every time I get in my car, I am singing my head off, exercising my lungs and my voice, constantly singing, and that I find keeps me happy and cheers me up. Go on.
Right, right, okay. If you're the best, Paul, you're gonna have to do some of these on the E5 Instagram
Eh? What on
on
E5 Insta?
stories.
Oh, can I? Yeah. So hang on, stories.
On stories, right? So you've got to start filming yourself doing some carpool
Is
karaoke.
that the live thing you're talking
You
about?
can do it live if you want. That's even better.
Because I learned the live button for anyone listening. If you look at our Instagram, I'm learning the live button, and then it goes into the circular logo, but it only stays there for a day, doesn't it? It doesn't stay. It just stays there for a day, which is a
Yeah.
bit weird. So I'm still learning Instagram. It's fair to say. But you need to go on our bloody Instagram stories as well. You've got the login details, so all the other guys. It's not just me who sits on that account. It's all of you lot can sit on it. Um, but me singing, I don't know. Do you know what I was doing actually? This is a true story in Devon. This is actually a true story. Me and my missus were chatting when we were driving to Bude the other day, and every single conversation piece we had was sung in this. It was sung, but in the style of London theatre. So if we had to talk to each other, I had to literally sing it in the style of a London theatre play. So it didn't matter what we were talking about, like if the car needed to be
What?
repaired or anything.
What? In public as well?
No, 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 just in the car. My
Ah.
missus found it hysterical. And then I changed my voice and I said, let's talk in the vein of a Hercule Poirot episode. So I then tried to adopt different characters of a TV show that she loves. And she was absolutely, literally almost peeing her pants with laughter because I would talk about electrical stuff as Hercule Poirot and just dumb, silly stuff. But you've got to entertain yourself. And I find that all that sort of stuff really helps because, again, one thing with depression hits people differently. Some people may be thinking bad things or having difficulty concentrating, negative thoughts, feeling unnecessarily guilty or lacking confidence. This is a weird one for you. Loads of people, when I do public speaking, all say, "Oh, you're so confident." I am genuinely the least confident and the scaredest ever. But I realized a few years ago that my fear of doing public speaking is my biggest strength because no one who stands up before me or after me will have the guts to talk from their head and their heart with more passion than me. And even if it makes gobbledygook, like some of these podcasts probably are to people, I'm going to give it all I can, and I can't do any more, and I won't be ashamed or embarrassed of it. And I've never actually been ashamed or embarrassed of any of the podcasts we've done yet. Although I think whatever happens, someone will probably get the hump with this podcast. But yeah, but
Yeah.
there's the thinking part of depression. There's the mental part of depression. So people sometimes when you're depressed feel that you don't have a sense of reality. Some people feel numb, empty, and helpless. I felt that, feeling tearful. I have watched Extreme Makeover Home Edition and cried my eyes out. Armageddon, certain movies, I will just tear up at the end. I think it happens with age more as well. Having little motivation, yeah, get no pleasure out of life, feeling anxious, worried, and then physically. changes in appetite or weight, constipation, having aches and pains without physical causes, tired and lacking energy, losing interest in sex, changes in, disturbed sleep. Some people may cry a lot, some people may self-harm, some people will not do at work or avoid social contact. I can tell you now, virtually all of them at some point I've felt.
Yeah.
Virtually all of them. And that's behaviors, that's physical, that's mental. But it's the awareness of it. It's that coming to the awareness of, I shouldn't be thinking this. It's wrong. What do I do? And I don't have a vast amount of friends in life. I think people who've got loads and loads of friends, great, good luck to you. I don't live on Facebook with thousands of fake friends. I've got one guy who I call who was my best pal in the world. He's got 2 kids. In fact, that's a good point to raise, actually. The amount of friends I've lost in life because they've had kids is mind-blowing.
Or because of your situation.
Yeah, because the only way I could cope was to just disengage. Because I couldn't. We once had some friends who had some beautiful children, wonderful kids, and we spent Christmas with them. And I could see in Kerry's eyes, all she was doing was crying behind her eyes. And the minute we got out of there, she was just crying all the way home. It broke her heart, and I couldn't expose her to that anymore. And my best friend Colin, I'm godfather to his kids, and we do see them. But even still, we've had to go through that pain, that upset, that hurt, that angst, because we've had to push our own boundaries and say, look, we have to build tolerance. We can't judge or hate people who've got kids. It's heartbreaking for us, but it's our issue that we need to accept and deal with. And in fairness, my best mate Colin, the first time he said, look, she's pregnant, I was like, yeah, well done, mate. And he went, this is going to be a bit awkward for you. And I was like, fuck, he knows me. He knows me. And he's been fucking sounds a pound. He really has been awesome about it, to be honest with you. The only thing is we don't get to see each other as much as we want to, which is why I go to all the conventions. I was at the horror convention in Manchester last weekend, hanging around with people who were in the Day of the Dead movie, and just because it's a great excuse to spend time with one of my best mates. So I don't have a huge list. I could probably count all my friends on 2 hands.
Yeah.
Especially the ones that I speak to regularly. Then there's what I call the Rimmer section. Do you remember the episode of Red Dwarf where he stands up and he's leaving Red Dwarf and he goes, over the years, I've come to regard you as people I've met. That kind of thing. But I do find over the years that loads of people have come up to me and said, hello, and they've spoken to me like we're good friends, and I couldn't even remember them. But I'd worked with them like 15 years ago and they still remembered me, but I didn't remember them. That's not offensive. I've done a lot of cleansing in my life, trying to forget negative things, negative times, keeping the lessons in the education. And
yeah, Paul, I purposely stay away from negative people.
Time thieves. We call them time thieves. In E5, we call them time thieves.
But do you know what? Some people, it might just be at the point of their life they're in that they've got nothing nice to say. I'm not saying they're a bad person, but I just don't want to involve myself in getting wrapped up in their shit. So I just kind of go, right, I'd rather not see you. Block them on social media. Don't speak to that person.
You do realise there'll be people listening to this who will be going, arsehole. You're talking about me.
Yeah, I am. I totally am. And the reason being is because I choose what comes into my little bubble.
Yes,
that's my protection. And sometimes I have to go, fuck off. I don't want anything.
And that's it. You are responsible for your circle of energy, whether you surround yourself with the positive and the negative. I think there has to be a balance, but you choose that balance. Now, depression treatments, okay, we all know exercise, self-help. There's something called CBT. You can go to your GP. There's interpersonal, which I'm a firm believer of interpersonal therapy, relationships with human beings, not fucking emails, talking to people. There's antidepressants, but one of the biggest things I found with the common types of depression, loads and loads of people suffer from SAD, seasonal affective disorder, which I never used to, because winter and autumn were my favorite seasons. Now I love the summer and the sunshine and how good I feel under the sun. Never used to feel that until I was about 35 years old. Now the winter comes and I do actually sometimes go, oh, I hate all this cold and misery, and I never felt that. The biggest problem I have experienced in my entire career, and it's a common type of depression, is bipolar disorder. Holy mother of God, the amount of people I've met who are bipolar, who don't even realize. And then this is the trouble with dating and living with someone who's a qualified therapist. You realize there's different stages of bipolar.
Yeah.
And you can have major mood swings alternating between depression, excessively high moods, mania, manic episodes. You can become harmful. You can do gambling, spending sprees, all sorts of crazy stuff. There are many time thieves we've experienced who I would absolutely categorize as bipolar, and they would absolutely deny it till they're blue in the fucking face. But they're absolutely bipolar and they're unpredictable. And that's why I call them time thieves, because they just want all your time and they don't actually contribute anything of any value. And I don't mean that in money wise, I mean that just in when you finish with them, do you feel a positive energy or you've done good? Or do you just go, oh, I've just lost 2.5 hours of my day. Oh, I feel like, yeah, they've like, downloaded all their shit. And they'll actually say to you, oh yeah, I feel much better talking to you. And you're like, I don't feel that better talking to you. I just feel like I've taken on all your fucking baggage. But that's okay. For good people, you don't have a problem with it. But bipolar people are never grateful and they don't realise what they're doing is wrong sometimes. And it really gets on my tits sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard, isn't it?
Going back on something you said right at the beginning, Paul, that word, be a man. Be a man.
Did I say be a man? Oh,
you said it right at the beginning. You said, you come out of school, it's like, you've got to be a man. Like, that little sentence is one of the worst things that we are brought up on. Like, don't cry, be a man. Because
I agree.
And it is a generation thing, because don't forget, we're still at the arse end of World War II, and all of that. It's still within our DNA.
My dad was born in 1948, so my dad was born at the end of World War II.
Yeah.
His dad fought in World War One, which is why he didn't really see that much of him, and he passed away when he was young. But you're right. I don't think. I think using the term "man up, be a man." Yeah, they're probably. I think they're of a dying generation. I think more it's you're on your own. Maybe I should have probably used that term. You're on your own. So everybody finds that they get thrown out of a comfort blanket, and your comfort blanket. This is why anytime I see a kid in school or I see one of my neighbours' kids, wherever I always say to them, enjoy every single minute of your childhood in school with your friends, because when you're in school, it's a family. It's if you've had a good school life. I had a great school life because I loved everybody, regardless of whether they loved me or not. I enjoyed it, and I'm so humble that I had the opportunity to do what I did in school. I look back and I wouldn't change a damn thing, to be honest with you. But the fear of having that blanket removed from you and being exposed with no real knowledge or ability to, because I left school with no GCSEs, for crying out loud. I didn't have a clue what I wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, integration, when you've got changes coming up, is daunting and can create some anxiety for sure. People don't like change. I say, some people thrive on it. Some people are really fearful of change because it's the unknown, and that can cause some problems. And that's the thing with the electrical industry. It moves so bloody quick. Even being out of it for a year, Paul. Obviously, I left at quite a big point because of the 18th edition, and when I come back, I was like, Christ almighty, a lot has gone on within a year. And
but in all fairness, that never so being transparent and honest as we always I always had a feeling you'd be back anyway, but I wanted you to go and do what you needed to do for your family with our love and blessings and friendship. But the minute you came back, what did you have? You had a group of mates who'd missed you, who would absolutely throw their blanket of love, respect, friendship and knowledge around you to help you to get back into it in any way you chose to get back into it.
Yeah, and I am very grateful. Very, very grateful.
You don't need to be. That's the beauty of it at the end of the day. You don't need to be, because you demonstrate it with your behaviours.
You say that though, Paul, but I think exercising gratitude is really important. And I've got a friend who's a counsellor for young children. And she says a lot of exercises that they do is self-demonstration of gratitude, and it's not like going out of your way to say thank you to someone, but it's just understanding you've got good in your life. And I will literally write down what I'm grateful for today. I go through with my children. What are you grateful for? My son is always grateful for dinner. That's fine. But we are grateful. It's just a focus on the positive rather than the negative, because and I do it before bed.
My one's easy. I'm grateful for having Kerry in my life, and I'm grateful for having the E5 family that I know on the end of a phone if I need it, which is pretty cool. To be honest with you, that is pretty cool. I did ring up somebody a couple of weeks back actually and just vented at them, and it wasn't part of the core E5 guys. It was one of the more fringe guys, whatever you want to call it. One of the guys who isn't involved in the day to day as such, and it was just good to sound off on him. It helped. It helped. Sometimes you just need someone to just shed, vent to at times. And I think in the electrical industry, if we look at cases of depression, so I think our industry is crap. Okay, it's crap at accepting and acknowledging it. It's great at doing a marketing campaign, and I'm sure the Electrical Industries Charity have got some good stuff there. So let's try and get Tessa from the Electrical Industries Charity on one of these in the future. Yeah, because that would be a good thing for the industry to understand what they do and how they do, and she'd be more than
honestly, Paul, they do far more than I ever knew.
Great. Well, then why don't you get her on and you record the podcast, and then you just stick it on when she's available. But there are a lot of people who work understair cases by themselves. I've had emails from guys who've been self-employed one-man bands for 18, 20 years, and they feel very, very lonely doing it. They're wondering whether the client will pay them. They're under pressure to, be on the ball, be upskilled technically. They see all the chaos in the industry, and there is chaos in our industry. Don't think for one moment E5 wouldn't have had the traction that we've had, and I still don't think we've even got properly started yet, if there wasn't major challenges in the industry, because I genuinely do feel that E5 is having a massive impact as far as the support and educate, which is what we always wanted to do. We don't want to be a CPS system because they're bloody broken, don't work very well. I wish they did. I do. I genuinely wish, and I hope to God we can help them fix them.
I think what people get confused about E5 is that it's not. There's nothing else in the industry like it. So it's hard to compare it. And I think originally people started comparing us to CPS, saying, you should set up a CPS. Well, what's the point?
The email, the comments on YouTube videos. Oh, another, give me 80 quid and waive my certificate and I'm competent malarkey. Do you remember on our what is
E5 video? And it's like it's not that the CPSs have their place. They're there. They have their role. Everybody has their role.
We don't, and a lot of the frustrations people have, I have in the last 12 months got sick of people saying an NIC contractor or a JIB or a NAPIT contractor. It has got sweet Fanny Adam to do. If you've got a bad job, you cannot blame the NIC or NAPIT or ECA or JIB over it. Yeah, okay, if they're registered, fine. There's been a failing somewhere there, accept that. But shit workmanship is shit workmanship at the end of the day. And it could be that crap workmanship could have been that guy's wife was leaving him. And in fact, there's a statistic. If you remember years ago, of all the trades, and I remember this very clearly, I'd love to dig it out again.
I know what you're going to say.
The highest divorce rate of all the trades was with electricians. Last in, last out. You go in, and I found this once. I went to change a socket, a fucking damaged socket. The minute I opened up the socket, VAR pinged back into the skirting board. I was there for nearly 10.5 hours trying to unfuck this lethal installation because I gave a shit and I couldn't leave them in a really bad fucking state. And I got no thanks for that. I didn't get any extra money. I got loads of shit when I got home. And I can easily see how the divorce rates, because me and my missus went for our 7-year itch, 10-year itch and all the rest of it because of the working hours. But
because I've been on call for emergency call outs for fire alarms and stuff in the past, man, that puts strain on a relationship. Massive strain when you've planned to go and see some family. And, I've got to bugger off to go to central London, and you're gone for 6 hours.
And it's worse when you turn up and somebody goes, "Great, you're the fire alarm engineer." Yeah. Right. Well, you've got to isolate all these panels. And by the way, we'll be done in 7 hours. You're going to have to re-energize it, and you're like, "Pardon?"
Yeah.
And nobody told you you've got to sit there for 7 hours just in case Otherwise, this major building in London goes into evac mode and wakes up half the city, and you get in trouble. And do you know what I mean? All that sort of stuff. That all causes that depression. I've been on jobs where the boss has sent me in to do something, and I've walked in and it's been something completely different, and I've gone, oh my god, I can't do this. I can't do this. That in itself is a cause of anxiety and depression.
And Paul, part of my business, what I'm doing, develop my business,
Yeah.
is to help not just the business owner and grow the business. It's not all just about money. It's about developing people within a business and thinking about the bigger picture, because productivity is massively affected by obviously management and different factors, working conditions. And as employers, as the business owner, you have such an influence on that. And if you can have an employer who actually has, shows compassion to their employees, and it's not just all about money, which generally it is a lot of the time, you have a much better working environment, and people are happier, and actually you make more money.
I consider myself very fortunate where I currently work. My boss is a very good, decent, and honourable man.
Good.
He's a very decent and honourable man. I can't fault my boss at all at the moment in any way, shape, or form. He is very supportive. He's very much a human being, first before a boss. He's a human being. He's very caring, and I can't fault him. Cannot fault him, to be honest with you, at all. Which is great, because I have worked for some utter bellends in my career who were just egotistical, all self-important, greedy. Yeah. And they're the ones that you realize they're toxic, and then you do go under stress, because you then think, what's my exit strategy? How do I get out of this business so that I can be better off in myself? Because I've sat in jobs where I was told at the 6-month probation, you've passed your probation, and then I've gone, well, hang on a second, you haven't passed your probation, because you've basically lied to me to bring me into this job. And I've had that boss say, well, if we told you the truth, you would never have come. That is the absolute biggest kick in the balls ever.
And there's so much stuff that goes on with employment, like dangling a carrot with, oh, we're going to train you, we're going to do this, and then it comes to it and they don't.
I've had that carrot dangled plenty of times, and I was stupid enough to believe it. If someone's going to dangle a carrot in front of you, get them to put it in writing in a contract, and if you leave early, you have to pay it back. That's the carrot, and until that happens, it's just talk for the sake of talk.
Yeah, I agree.
But anyway, I think me and you can talk for hours and hours and hours on this, and I think Mr. Dempsey and Dave will probably end up doing one of these as well. And I do think we should talk about alcoholism as well, Dan, because I think that's
big time.
Quite important. Do we have anything more to say on this? Dan, have you got any final thoughts before we wind this one up?
I just want to say to everybody who's listening that do you know what? You're not alone. Anybody who's having bad feelings in whatever part of the spectrum it is, with depression or anxiety or just feeling bad, you're not alone. Just, sometimes your partner isn't the person you need to look to as a counsellor, because there's conflicts of interest there. So just, there's support out there. There's support by people.
So my final thoughts on this for the moment are, anyone who does suffer from depression in any form, share your experience. Don't be afraid of it. Take the negative and the weakness that it gives you and make it into a strength. Recognize yourself, do some research, what the condition is and how it's affecting you. Speak to Mind. So Mind are a charity which deal with depression. They're experts in it. It may be that some of the best therapy is just to talk it out. GPs, looking after yourself, exercising, getting off a train stop and walking one station, or getting a little I actually found getting a fold-up bike and cycling in for a few miles was brilliant, because got my heart rate going, made me feel great going into work, much more upbeat and positive. So there's plenty of help out there, and if you need to speak to us at all, I think we are probably some of the most accessible people in the electrical industry. We'll speak to anybody, as long as we have time to give you the quality of time, we will do it. And on that, I think we'll close this one.
Yeah.
So look after yourself, and until the next one, take care of yourself and each other. Bye bye.
Goodbye.